Good afternoon, I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. Special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com, and we apologize for the late start. Minette Palmer Lawrence, who has been struck from the role of practicing attorneys in Jamaica, is to appeal the decision. Mrs. Lawrence was disbarred on Saturday following a hearing by the Disciplinary Committee of the General Legal Counsel. Her attorney, Christopher Dunkley, told our news center this morning that the legal team has 6 weeks within which to appeal the ruling. Mr. Dunkley says the team will be seeking an early date to state its case before the Court of Appeal. He expressed confidence that there are good grounds for a successful appeal, but declined to outline the complaint that was brought against Mrs. Lawrence. Our news center understands that a client filed a complaint against Mrs. Lawrence regarding an investment which is said to be between $400,000 to $700,000 US. The client also filed a lawsuit in the Supreme Court and won the case. Mrs. Lawrence is the company's secretary at Symbiote Investments, which trades as Carousel. Now, the problem-plagued company recently asked the government to reconsider its decision to revoke its telecommunications licenses. The Nurses Association of Jamaica staged a march on the weekend calling for an end to violence against women and children, particularly their colleagues. According to the NAJ, quite a number of their nurses are in abusive situations but are afraid to speak up. The NAJ says some have even brutally lost their lives. Here's TVJ's Shamela Mitchell.
Of the over 3,000 nurses registered with the Nurses Association of Jamaica, NAJ, 1 in every 4 has been in abusive situations. That's according to statistics provided by the NAJ. The NAJ decided to take a public stance on the issue by staging a march on the weekend calling for an end to such abuse. Organizer of the march, Nurse of the Year for 2017-2018, NATALIE HYLTON-LEVY, says the issue hit home even harder after a nurse was murdered by an ex-lover late last year.
This year, Ophelia Wollaston was brutally murdered by her ex-consort. And so it came right home. It came into our bedrooms. And so this year we thought that we would use her as the face of our campaign to say that as much as we look at it and think that it is at arm's reach, it is not close to us, it is.
NAJ First Vice President PATSY Henry says from her many years of experience, a challenge in truly addressing the problem is that some nurses are afraid to speak out when they are being abused.
I remember when I was going to the funeral for Nurse Wollaston, one nurse came in and she said, "Sister, he is going to kill me." There is a lot of it happening because remember that nurses are from the society and this is wide in the society, so it affects us, but a lot of nurses don't speak up because I don't know, it's taboo or the embarrassment of speaking out against this.
Well, at times I don't know what to say or how to relate to them. So what I sometimes do, I refer them so they can get counseling and get out of the situation.
Nurse HYLTON-LEVY says these abusive situations also affect family life. She pointed again to the case of Ophelia Wollaston, who was the sole breadwinner in her family at the time of her death and has left behind 2 children below the age of 3 years old.
We know it is not easy for them right now. And the Nurses Association of Jamaica, with the support of LASCO, and has taken the initiative to try and raise funds. We have set up a bank account and we're hoping that people will continue to donate and the process will continue. But these are small children and they're at an age that they're very influential. And we don't want them to take the thought that my mother was murdered with them, because that is how future murderers come about. But we're saying to them that, look, there is still good in the society. We're here for you.
Part proceeds from the march will also go to the Women's Center in Montego Bay, St. James. Shamela Mitchell, TVJ News.
Chief Justice Brian Sykes has cautioned the justices of the peace to ensure that legal standards are met before signing warrants for the police. Addressing lay magistrates in Clarendon on the weekend, Chief Justice Sykes stressed that JPs should not feel pressured into granting warrants simply because a request is made.
It's usually when we are under stress that our values really become known and what values we hold near and dear. And the rule of law, especially in difficult times, is absolutely vital. Why is this? because there's a temptation at times to ignore procedures, ignore the steps, ignore the appropriate procedures because it is felt that we are going to be apprehending some known, famous or infamous criminal or some dangerous person. But that person also has rights.
He also warned against the signing of blank warrants. He also reminded the JPs to keep a log of the reasons police give for issuing warrants. Chief Justice Sykes insists such reasons should be given under oath.
Why is this important? It is important because a warrant authorizes the state through the police officer to enter somebody's property against their will. Because essentially what a warrant does is that it prevents the police officer from being a trespasser. And so when they come to you seeking authorization, then you have a responsibility to ensure that the rule of law is being upheld. And that means that the police must give you good and sufficient reason for the warrant to be issued.
A St. Elizabeth family is this afternoon struggling to come to terms with the drowning of 13-year-old Carlton Sylvester in a section of the Black River on Sunday. The first former at Monroe College had reportedly gone with his brother and a female to bathe at a section of the river near the Holland cane field sometime after 7 in the evening. It's not clear how he got into difficulties, but a man explained how he tried to save the teen.
I take off my clothes, start dive a search him. Somebody now come in the water, I'm alone now till my brother come, and my brother find him. I take him out, put up on the land. I take him up and put on the land, so water run out of his nose.
His uncle says it's been a difficult time for the family.
Before I go alone, I go pick up some money from my boss. Me see if me one and the second one I come a river, I turn them back. That's why I don't come down from last night, you know. All me come, me feel it, and I don't come down here. And this man say me I come take a look and me make sure I carry them to where will be water can show them with party in John.
A Gleaner vendor who was involved in a bike crash in Manchester on Thursday night has died. Richard Campbell, better known as Malvo of Goshen, St. Elizabeth, died on Sunday morning at the Kingston Public Hospital. He was a pillion on a motorbike which reportedly slammed into a parked car on the Prospect Main Road about 10:30 Thursday night. TVJ News understands that both men were flung from the bike. The other man is said to be in serious condition. The Housing Agency of Jamaica says it's pushing to get new land titles for 8,000 informal residents. Speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica program on Monday, HAJ's Senior Manager for Community Development, Nakia McMorris, explained that the residents have not yet finished paying for their lands. However, she says the HAJ already has the titles.
The government had plots of land on which people were living, and so they said, let us now go ahead and start to regularize persons.
Okay.
So then the property was splintered, so then HAJ is a hold of those titles, and our job is now to get the titles out.
Mrs. McMorris adds that the residents can get their land titles whether they have been paying property taxes. Meanwhile, Managing Director Gary Howell noted a challenge in managing untitled lands.
Critical things about title never. It helps us to identify, one, the person who really owns the land. Because you find some persons now, you were allocated a lot, but guess what? You didn't come in and settle, somebody else goes in and take over the land. And it is causing problems. So we are trying to encourage the persons who have been allocated to come in and get their title so they can show legal status.
Yeah, Councillor for the MYERSVILLE division in St. Elizabeth, Layton Smith, has issued a warning regarding the Essex Valley water pipeline. The pipeline is to be brought into commission for communities affected by the alumina operation in the parish. Speaking at a PNP divisional conference at the Warminster Community Centre on Sunday, Mr. Smith claimed that changes were being made that would affect the communities which are to benefit from the project. He warned that he would be putting up a resistance to the adjustments as the project was originally negotiated to compensate for the dust pollution affecting the water in several communities.
Run the pipe in MYERSVILLE housing scheme and say they don't have no more money to put no more pipe in none of the district. Now they're putting the lift pump in there and they're planning to come down this year to make them big launch to put water in the pipe. They're not going to pump water from MYERSVILLE housing scheme only. They're planning on putting the water in the junction and then the other citizens who have been affected will have to wait. Over my dead body, comrades, it won't happen.
The councillor has suggested that the residents of the affected communities should make their disgust known through protest. He's also warning that he'll be leading that charge to take the protest action to the streets.
Comrades, let me tell you this. I am ready to block the road in MYERSVILLE because the plan that they are having is to put the water in the junction before it reach you in the surrounding district, comrades. And let me tell you this, it's not going to happen.
To news on the political scene now. In the wake of sparring words within the Jamaica Labour Party JLP camp, Director of Communications in the Prime Minister's office, Robert Morgan, has commented on whether the party leaders should intervene. Sitting MP Pernell Charles has responded with anger over Mr. Morgan's expressed interest in succeeding him when he retires from representational politics in the Clarendon North Central constituency. Mr. Charles stressed that his son, Pernell Charles Jr., has been working alongside him in the constituency and also has an interest in succeeding him. But Mr. Morgan says he was surprised at the MP's reactions, noting that others have already started campaigning activities in the constituency.
I'm very conscious of what is taking place. I don't know if I need to ask for their intervention. What I know is that the leadership of the party is very cognizant of the need for their actions as it relates to ensuring that the persons who are interested in moving forward with the organization do so in a particular framework which is within the Constitution and within the established protocols and guidelines of the organization.
And the opposition People's National Party has drama of its own. PNP President Dr. Peter Phillips is facing strong criticisms from social media for a Twitter post on Sunday evening. In the post, Dr. Phillips said tonight Valerie Nita Robinson will be presented as our PNP candidate for West Portland. Within minutes of the post, Twitter erupted, blasting Dr. Phillips for getting the candidate Valerie Nita Robertson's name incorrect. So Dr. Phillips had written Robinson when it should have been Robertson. The original post has been removed from his Twitter page and has since been corrected. Meanwhile, addressing the PNP meeting at the Buff Bay Primary School in Portland on Sunday, attorney Valerie Nita Robertson said she's intent on the party winning the Portland Western seat currently held by the Jamaica Labour Party's Darrell Vaz.
East Portland, West Portland, and Southeast St. Mary shall be a wall that cannot be shattered. We will join with the comrades in those constituencies, and we are committed to working together to secure the victory for the party that we love so much and that we have given our all for over the years. West Portland, are you ready?
Time now for sports. It will be Coach Kim Collins next season when the 2003 World Champion and Olympic Games finalist walks away from competition. The St. Kitts and Nevis native has revealed that at the age of 42 this season will be his last. Collins says he will join his wife Paula, who now coaches him, to unearth new talent in the region.
More in the Caribbean happening that people just not come to compete, but see what the islands have to offer.
In St. Kitts?
In St. Kitts and Nevis, yes.
Collins admitted that it's been tough walking away from the sport as no Kittitian has since emerged to take up this mantle. And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashon Brown. Join us at 7 for a primetime news package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.